Good morning, everybody. Let us read our next lesson, and the name of the lesson is quality. And I think quality, each one of you know, quality is the special thing, something important that we have either in a human being or in a product or in a thing. In Hindi, what we call is gunvata. So before we read, let us see what the story is about. Can a shoemaker be called an artist? Can a person who makes our shoes, that is a cobbler, be called an artist? Can we call a cobbler an artist? Yes. If he has the same skill, same quality, and pride in his trade, in his profession, as any other artist. Yes, we can call that person an artist if he does his work with same pride, with same honor, and with same skill, and the same respect for it too, if the person has respect for that. Mr. Gassler, a German shoemaker, settled in London. Mr. Gassler, he is a German shoemaker, a German cobbler, and he settled down in London. He is a perfect artist. Read this story to see how he devotes his life to his art of shoemaking. Let us read how he has devoted his whole life, how he has sacrificed his whole life, how he has surrenders himself for the art. So quality, the author says, I knew him from the days of my father's extreme youth, or from very childhood. I knew Mr. Gassler because he made my father's boot. He used to make shoes for my father. He lived with his elder brother in his shop. He used to live with his elder brother in his shop, which was in a small by street in a fashionable part of London. The shop of Mr. Gassler was situated in a small street in London that was a fashionable part of the city. The shop had a certain quite distinction. His shop has a quite distinction, a quite speciality, a special kind of recognition. There was no sign upon it other than the name of Gassler Brothers. There was no signboard on the shop other than Gassler Brothers, and in the window a few pair of boots, and in the window of the shop few pairs of shoes were placed. He made only what was ordered. He made only those shoes for which he has got order from someone, and what he made never failed to fit. Whatever shoes he prepared fitted the person well. To make boots, such boots as he made seemed to me then, and still seems to me even today, mysterious and wonderful. Whatever kind of boots he made, shoes he made, was mysterious and wonderful. Very good shoes. I remember well my shy remarks one day while stretching out to him my youthful foot. One day when I visited to him his shop, and when I stretched forward my foot to him for the shoes, I remember how shyly I have said, isn't it awful hard to do, Mr. Gassler? I asked Mr. Gassler, isn't it too difficult to make shoes for all? And his answer, given with a sudden smile from out of the redness of his beard. He has a red beard, long hair on his chin. So with a smile he replied, "It's an art." He said, "It is an art," he told in German accent, German tone of speaking. He said, "Making shoe is an art." It was not possible to go to him very often. His boots lasted terribly. It was not possible for him to go to him very often, many times, because whatever shoes he made lasted terribly, lasted for a long, long time. Having something beyond the temporary, some essence of boot stitched into them. In fact, his shoes were permanent enough. His shoes were of very good quality. And once you have got a pair of shoes for coming many years, you do not need to have shoes. Some essence of boots stitched into him. He was the one who stitched something, his soul with the shoes. He took a keen interest in making the shoes such that the shoes came out as of a very good quality. One went in, not as into most shops, but restfully as one enters a church, and sitting on the single wooden chair waited. Whenever a customer came, went inside the shop, but restfully, not in any hurry, comfortably, as one enters in a church, as if one is entering to a religious place, and sitting on the single wooden chair waited. One has to wait there. A guttural sound, a very rough, grating sound, and the tip-tap of his slippers beating the narrow wooden stairs, and he would stand before one without coat. And once the customer is in the shop, he would come down, passing through the wooden stairs, beating the wooden stairs, and he would stand before one without coat, without wearing a coat, little bent, his body little moved forward, in leather apron, wearing leather coat, with sleeves turned back, his eyes blinking, closing and opening, as if awakened from some dream of boots, as if he has come out from a dream of making boots, shoes. And I would say, "How do you do, Mr. Gessler? Could you make me a pair of Russian leather boots? How are you? Can you make a Russian leather shoes for me?" Without a word, without speaking anything, he would leave me, retiring whence he came. He would go back to the place where he has come from, or into the other portion of the shop, and I would continue to rest in the wooden chair, inhaling the incense of his street, breathing the smell of the leather. Soon he will come back, holding in his hand a piece of gold brown leather. He will bring a piece of leather, gold brown. With eyes fixed on it, he would remark, "What a beautiful piece." Again, in his tongue of German, he would say, "What a beautiful piece. When do you want them? When do you want these shoes to be prepared?" And I would answer, "Oh, as soon as you conveniently can. As soon as you can make as per your convenience. As per your convenience." And he would say, sorry, I missed it. "What a beautiful piece." When I too had admired it, he would speak again. When I too had praised that leather, that it is of good quality, he would ask, when do you want them to be prepared? And I would answer, oh, as soon as you conveniently can, as per your convenience, as early as you can. And he would say, tomorrow fortnight. Tomorrow fortnight. You will get it. Or if he were his elder brother, or if his elder brother was there, he would say, I'll ask my brother. He would say, I'll ask my brother and will let you know when I can give you. Then I would murmur, I would speak, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Kessler. Good morning. He would reply, still looking at the leather in his hand, still continuously looking at his hand. And as I moved to the door, as I go towards the door, I would hear the tip-tap of his slippers going up the stairs to his dream of boots. Again, I can hear his sound of going upstairs and could hear the sound of his slippers going up on the stairs. I cannot forget that day on which I had occasion to say him, Mr. Kessler, that last pair of boots creaked, you know. I remember once I complained him that, Mr. Kessler, that last shoes that you prepared for me, that has a creaking sound. He looked at me for a time without replying. For some time he kept on looking at me without any answer, as if expecting me to withdraw or qualify the statement, as if he was expecting me to withdraw my statement, withdraw my complaint. Then said, it should not have creaked. Then he would say, it should not have creaked, because he has full faith on his shoes. He did, I'm afraid. I repeated, I'm afraid, I'm sorry, your shoes creaked. You got them with before they found themselves. He said, you sent them back before they found themselves. Please send them back. I'll look at them. I don't think so. I don't think so. I can send them. At that, he lowered his eyes as if hunting for memory of those boots, and I felt sorry I had mentioned this grave thing. Send them back. I'll look at them. I'll see what's the problem. Some boots, he continued slowly, he said, some boots are bad from birth. They are some bad. Some shoes are bad from the beginning. If I can do nothing with them, I take them off your bill. And if I will not be able to repair them, I will not charge for those shoes. Once I went absent-mindedly into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large firm. Once, without some special attention, I went to his shop, and that time I was wearing a shoes that I had bought from some large firm. He took my order without showing me any leather, and I could feel his eyes penetrating the inferior covering of my boot. And while he took my order, his eyes were looking at my boot and was trying to point out that how poor quality leather the shoes you are wearing have. At last he said, those are not my boots. And he said, these are not the boots made by me. These are not the shoes made by me. The tone was not one of anger. The tone was not of his anger towards me, unhappiness, nor of sorrow, nor of sadness, not even of contempt, not of hate, but there was in it something quite that froze the blood. But there was something in his tone that depressed me. He put his hand down and pressed a finger on the place where the left boot was not quite comfortable. He found out the place where the boot was not comfortable and he placed his hand there. It hurts you there, he said. He said, this shoes hurts you there. It's pinching you there. Does big firms have no self-respect? He said these big firms do not have self-respect for themselves. And then, as if something had given way within him, as if he has got the solution, he spoke long and bitterly. He spoke very long and in a very harassed tone. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the condition and hardship of his trade. It was the only time when he discussed about the difficulties he is facing in his profession. They get it all, he said. They get it by advertisement, not by work. They take it away from us who love our boots. It comes to this, presently I have no work. Every year it gets less, you'll see. And he complained that these firms, they get the whole work from the market, not by their quality but by the advertisement. And day by day we are getting less work. And looking at his lined face, I saw things I had never noticed before. Looking at his face that has lines of disturbance, bitter things and bitter struggle, how bitterly they are fighting, how bitterly they are struggling, and what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. And suddenly I could see there are so many grey hairs in his beard. As best I could, I explained the circumstances of those ill-omened boots. As best I could express, I told him in which circumstances I had to buy these bad shoes. But his face and voice made so deep an impression that during the next few minutes I ordered many pairs. By looking at his face and the expressions on his face and his voice, I was so melted that I ordered many pair of shoes. They lasted longer than ever. His shoes lasted longer than any other time, and I was not able to go to him for nearly 2 years. And result, for next 2 years I need not to have to visit him. It was many months before my next visit to his shop. This time it appeared to be his elder brother handling a piece of leather. When next time I visited, it was his brother in the shop who was looking at the leather. Well, Mr. Gessler, I said, how are you? He came close and peered at me, looked at me. I'm pretty well. I'm good. He said slowly, but my elder brother is dead. He said, I'm good, but my elder brother is no more. And I saw that it was indeed himself, but how aged and worn, when? I looked at him. Now he looked older than in his age. When? He was not. There was no brightness on his face. And never before had I heard him mention his brother. Much shocked, I murmured, oh, I'm sorry. I also said, I'm sorry. Yes, he answered, he was a good man. He made a good boot. But he's dead. He said my brother was a good man. He used to make good shoes, but he's dead. And he touched the top of his head, where the hair had suddenly gone as thin as it had been on that of his poor brother's, to indicate, I suppose, the cause of his death. He placed his hand towards his head on the top of the head, as if he was trying to indicate that he died because of some problem there. Do you want any boots? and he held up the leather in his hand. It's a beautiful piece. And he asked if I needed any boots, and he showed this is a good piece of. I ordered several pairs. Again, I ordered many pairs of shoes. It was very long before they came. Very soon the shoes came, but they were better than ever. This time the shoes quality was better than ever. One simply could not wear them out. They were so good that you don't want to wear them. And soon after that I went abroad. Soon after went to other country. It was over a year before I was again in London. It took me almost a whole year when I came back to London. And the first shop I went to was my old friend's. First shop I went was Mr. Gessler's. I left a man of 60. I came back to one of 75. Pinched and worn. Who genuinely, this time, did not at first sight know me. Or, in a nutshell, we can say, when I came back, I found that my friend was older than his age. He was pinched and worn. His body was weak. He was thin. He was depressed, disappointed. And he did not recognize me at first sight. Do you want any boots? He said. I can make them quickly. It's slack time. He said, if you want any boots, I can make quick because there is no work this time. I answered, please, please. I want boots all around, every kind. He said, I told him I want every kind of boots. You make me so many boots. I had given those boots up when one evening they came. One by one, I tried them on. One by one, I tried every shoes. In shape and fit, in finish and quality of leather, they were the best he had ever made. So every time he got new pair of shoes from him, the quality improved. I rushed downstairs, wrote a check and posted it at once with my own hand. As I got the shoes, I tried them and then wrote a check and sent it to the cobbler. A week later, passing the little street, I thought I would go in and tell him how splendidly the new boots fitted. A week later, while passing through that street, I wanted to go and tell him that those shoes were quite beautifully fitted. But when I came to where his shop had been, his name was gone. His shop was no more there. His signboard was no more there. I went in very much disturbed. I went inside the shop. In the shop, there was a young man with an English face. Mr. Gessler in? I asked. No, sir, he said. No, but we can attend to anything with pleasure. We have taken the shop over. There was a man with English face, and he told, no, he's not here, but we can serve you. Yes, yes, I said. But Mr. Gessler? Oh, he answered, he's dead. Dead? But I only received these boots from him last Wednesday week. He said, I received these boots from him on last Wednesday. He said, poor old man starved himself. Poor old man died of hunger. Slow starvation. Slow hunger. The doctor called it. The doctor said he died because of not getting food. You see, he went to work in such a way, he kept on working, would keep the shop on, would not have a soul touch his boots except himself. He himself would prepare his shoes. When he got an order, it took him such a time. For every order, it took him such a long time. People won't wait. He lost everybody. And there he would sit, going on and on. He continuously worked. I'll say that for him, not a man in London made a better boot. But look at the competition. He never advertised. Would have the best leather too and do it all himself. Well, there it is. What could you expect with his ideas? But starvation. With such a dedication, he killed himself. He died of hunger. That may be a bit flowery, as the saying is, but I know myself. He was sitting over his boots day and night. He kept on working. To the very last, you see, I used to watch him making shoes. Never gave himself time to eat, never had a penny in the house. Neither he has money nor he has time. All went in rent. Whatever he earned, he has to pay rent of the building and shop, and for leather. How he lived so long, I don't know. I don't know how he lived for so long. He regularly let his fire go out. He was a character, but he made good boots. He was a good character himself. Yes, I said he made good boots. And I said, yes, he made good boots. So, this is a story about such a beautiful person, such a good artist who loved making his shoes. Thank you.